The buzzards were already circling when Cole reached the ruins. Dust kicked up behind him as his horse slowed, hooves crunching on blackened earth. The scent of charred timber hung low, mingled with something bitter, metallic, wet, final. He dismounted without a word. The wind whispered through splintered fences and cracked beams. A child's toy, a wooden horse, lay on its side near the well, half burnt. His boots pressed ash into the ground as he moved forward, jaw clenched, eyes scanning the wreckage. The sky above was cloudless, cruel in its clarity. From the smoldering, remains of what used to be a home. A groan rose, soft, shallow, almost swallowed by the wind. He turned sharply and moved toward it, pushing aside the charred door. Inside, the walls had collapsed inward, framing a small body curled beside a smoking hearth. A girl, maybe 6. Dirt and soot caked her face. Her dress was torn, her arm bruised, purple down to the bone. Her eyes flinched at him, wide with that silence children learn only when they've watched too much die. Cole knelt beside her, slow and steady. She recoiled. He didn't speak. Instead, he reached for his canteen, unscrewed the lid and held it out. Her tiny fingers hesitated, then grabbed it with the speed of desperation. Water dripped down her chin as she drank too fast. He let her. "Who did this?" he asked finally. She wiped her mouth, trembling. Her lips parted. No sound. "Your folks?" he added, voice low. She nodded, eyes dropping to the floorboards where the blood hadn't even dried. He exhaled, slow, controlled. "Anyone else?" A beat, then barely above a whisper. "They took her." Cole's shoulders stiffened. "Who?" The girl looked up, pupils shaking. Her voice cracked as she said it. "Kaya." The name hit him like the snap of a rope under. Tension of the room swayed for a moment, not from smoke, not from heat, but memory. He'd heard that name last on a winter morning years ago, when she'd stepped between him and a bullet. When she bled so he wouldn't. He stood. Moved through the rest of the house. No one else was breathing. Not the man on the porch with half a face. Not the woman by the bed with the scissors still clutched in her hand. He found a broken rifle snapped in two. Powder burns on the wall. Blood trail leading out the back. The bastards hadn't come to rob. They came to take. He spotted it then. Something caught on a nail outside, fluttering. A strip of leather. Apache beadwork. Kaya's. He plucked it from the wind and closed his fingers tight. Behind the barn, he found a corpse still on horseback. Slumped. Dead eyes wide. He pulled the saddlebag loose. Papers, scraps, maps, and tucked in the bottom, a ledger, bound in worn hide. Blood smeared the spine. He opened it. Names. Dozens of them. Women. Ages. Prices. Kaya's was circled in red ink. Beneath it, the word, high value, untouched. Cole stared at the word like it insulted the dirt it was written on. His thumb traced the edge of the page. He flipped further. Cities listed, buyers marked in code. The kind of record-keeping done by men who wanted to pretend what they were selling wasn't human. He looked over his shoulder. The girl still sat by the hearth, clutching his canteen like it was the only real thing left in the world. He tucked the ledger into his coat, walked back to his horse, and paused at the saddle. His rifle rested in its loop, barrel clean, stock, worn smooth by years of use. He unstrapped it, slid it across his back. Then he reached into the side pouch and pulled out a flask. Took one swig, not for courage, but to kill the taste of what he'd seen. He turned toward the horizon, where the dust trail still lingered faintly in the air. Kaya was alive, but they'd hunted her like game, and they hadn't killed everyone. He mounted. The horse whinnied, sensing the tension in its rider's spine. With one squeeze of the reins, they moved. He didn't speak again. Didn't need to. At the first creek crossing, he found fresh prints. 5 riders. One heavier drag mark. The kind, made by a bound body slipping off rhythm. Cole crouched beside the trail, brushing the sand. The way the hoofbeats hit the bend told him they were moving fast. Confident. They didn't think anyone would follow. He rolled a pebble between his fingers, then flicked it into the stream. Wrong, he muttered. He rode with purpose, days blurred. Heat peeled skin from the back of his neck. The wind cut sharp through narrow passes. Coyotes trailed him at night. He didn't stop unless the trail did. In a canyon choke, he found a message, scratched into the stone wall with blood and bone. I'm not dead yet. He touched the edge with his fingertips. Kaya had never waited to be rescued. She wasn't the kind to go quietly, but she was alone now, and they were still dragging her deeper into the rocks. One night, he stopped to rest the horse beside a dry well. As he adjusted the saddle, something fell from inside. A torn page from the ledger. It must have slipped loose. Cole picked it up. One name had been circled twice. He recognized it. Malister. Colonel. Discharged dishonorably. Became a land enforcer. Ran patrols for railroad barons and silver syndicates. Paid to disappear problems. Last known location. Dustbone Ridge. Cole stared into the fire until it burned down to embers. Then he tore the page and tossed it in. That night, he didn't sleep. Just cleaned his rifle and whispered a name now and then, testing how it sounded through gritted teeth. Come dawn, the trail forked. One led toward the trade routes, the other toward the canyons no maps marked. He took the second. At a dead oak, he found another sign, this one carved. A symbol from the Thunder Rock tribe, a spiral with a mark through the center. It meant, follow the blood. He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. By mid-morning, he caught scent of campfire, distant, carried on a high wind. He stopped at a ridge and scanned the basin below. He saw the smoke, thin and disciplined, the kind built by men who didn't want to be found but weren't careful enough. He turned his horse back, circled wide, and disappeared into the rock shadows. Kaya's trail was no longer a rescue mission. It was an invitation, and Cole Mason had finally accepted. The first man didn't see the knife coming. His body jerked once, then folded into the scrub. Cole caught him before he hit the dirt, laid him down quiet. Dust settled slow around them. He took the man's revolver, checked it, unloaded it, and left it beside the corpse like a courtesy. The second man was smarter, heard the rustle, drew his weapon. Too late. Cole's bullet caught him in the throat, and the man choked on his last breath, clawing at a wound that couldn't be undone. His blood soaked into the canyon gravel, dark and fast. Cole moved on. The heat was rising again, the kind that made the rocks sweat. Flies buzzed around the corpses before they cooled. Cole didn't stop to bury them. He was done digging graves, for men who wouldn't have offered him the same. He crouched beside their horses, tethered loosely, impatient. One of them had a saddlebag, poorly buckled. Inside, dried meat, a rusted flask, and another page torn from the ledger. It had 3 names, 2 crossed out in thick red ink, 1 left untouched. The last name was marked Buyer, Hollow Post Auction. Cole folded the paper once and tucked it into his coat. The Dustbone Trail narrowed ahead, hemmed by cliffs on both sides. The ground had been scraped by hooves. 5 riders, same pattern. They weren't watching their backs. That meant they didn't think anyone could follow them. That meant they thought Kaya was already forgotten. He walked his horse slow through the tight pass, eyes scanning the ridges. At one point, a hawk's shadow swept over the rocks. Cole paused, tilted his head to listen. Nothing but the wind. Then a voice. Faint, strained. Cole. He froze. The whisper had no body, just air. But it was hers. He moved toward the sound, climbed a slope of loose gravel, boots crunching softly. At the top, etched into the stone with the jagged edge of a spoon or bone, was a word. 3 letters. Her name. Below it, a blood smear. Cole traced the letters with a finger, then stared west. He was gaining. She was still alive. Further down, he found the burned remains of a camp, not theirs. Too recent. A miner's site, maybe. Scavenged. The fire had barely gone cold. He knelt and sifted through the ash until he found a half-melted pendant. Apache design. Braided silver and turquoise. Blackened but intact. He pocketed it. He didn't speak. He just rode harder. By dusk, The land opened up to a dry basin rimmed in broken mesquite and dying cottonwoods. Ahead, a structure emerged from the haze. An old watchtower collapsed at one side. Not occupied, not for years. But the tracks led there. A stopover. A hide site. Cole dismounted and approached low. Ari. Smelled smoke again, faint and bitter. Inside the ruin, a man snored, loud, careless. Cole stepped through the broken doorway, revolver drawn. The man stirred, blinked once and reached. He didn't make it. Cole pinned him down with a boot, barrel to his cheek. Where are they? The man spat blood, teeth broken. Too late. She's gone. Where? Hollow Post, he wheezed. West Ridge. They said she's fetching high price. Buyers coming from Santa Fe, a day, maybe less. Mallister there? No. Left it to Daniels. He's running the trade now. Cole narrowed his eyes. How many men? 6, 7. Depends who drinks slow. He pressed the gun tighter. You part of this? I just kept lookout. I didn't touch her. Cole didn't speak. He stepped back, raised the revolver. The man whimpered. The shot went into the ground, inches from his face. You ride east, Cole said flatly. You tell Daniels I'm coming. Tell him to pray. The buyer's early. Might be his only chance. He left the man crawling. Outside, he checked the sky. Stars crept across the dark like watching eyes. He lit no fire that night. He sat beneath the bluff and cleaned his rifle, hands steady, eyes blank. When the barrel gleamed silver in the starlight, he laid it across his lap and leaned back. A soft sound reached him, far off. A howl. Not coyote. Human. Pain. He closed his eyes. Morning came without warmth. He rode through the ash basin, past the old telegraph poles that hadn't seen a wire in 20 years. The wind carried the scent of mule dung and old sweat. They were close. As he climbed a shallow ridge, he spotted the outpost. Hollow Post. No more than 5 buildings, some collapsed. One central barn, roof intact. Horses tied out front. He counted. 4. A 5th man moved between crates, armed, drunk, sloppy. Cole circled wide through the rocks, found a back path, abandoned mine shaft nearby. Good for cover. As he approached the rear of the barn, he saw her. Kaya, bound at the wrists, ankles raw. She leaned against a post, chin tucked, face bruised, but her eyes were open, focused. Cole didn't call out, didn't move yet. He watched her eyes flick up, catch his. She blinked twice, then slowly, imperceptibly, nodded. She was ready. He ghosted back into the brush, climbed the rocks to the ridge above the barn. From there he could see everything. 6 men total, 1 unarmed. The buyer, fat, sweating, Eastern clothes. A gold watch hung from his vest. Beside him, Daniels, slim, snake-like, chewing on a toothpick and pointing at Kaya. Cole loaded a round into the chamber, slid the bolt forward. He aimed, but he didn't shoot. Not yet. He watched Daniels walk to Kaya, grab her chin, tilt her face up. Still got fight in you? He sneered. She spat in his face. Daniels backhanded her. Cole pulled the trigger. The bullet caught Daniels in the shoulder, spun him sideways. Chaos erupted. The buyer screamed. Guns were drawn. Cole fired again, dropped another man trying to flee. Then he was moving, sliding down the ridge, rifle strapped, revolver drawn. He hit the barn door with his boot. It cracked inward. Smoke. Screams. Inside, Kaya had kicked her chair sideways. One of the guards lunged at her. Cole shot him through the back. The buyer crawled into a crate. Cole ignored him. Daniels, bleeding, aimed his pistol. Cole ducked, fired, hit him in the thigh. Daniels fell, yelling curses. Kaya whispered, "Knife!" Cole tossed it. She caught it, cut the rope with shaking fingers. Stood, her legs barely, held. She reached for the pistol of the man Cole had dropped, took it, walked over to Daniels. He looked up, eyes wide. "I didn't." She shot him in the throat, then again, in the chest. When silence returned, only 2 were left breathing, Kaya And the buyer. Cole walked toward the crate. The man raised both hands, stammering. I paid. I never touched her. That's the problem, Cole said. Kaya raised her pistol again. Cole didn't stop her. When she lowered it, the buyer didn't move again. They stood in the smoke, blood cooling around their boots. Kaya finally looked at him. You came, she said, voice dry. He gave a single nod. About time, she added. He almost smiled. Outside, the horses snorted restless. Cole took her arm. She didn't resist. Together, they walked into the sun. The trail behind them still smoked. The wind carried it west, away from the ruin of Hollow Post. Cole didn't look back. Neither did Kaya. Her steps faltered as they crossed into the dry basin, but she didn't ask to stop. The blood on her wrists had dried into cracked scabs. Her face was sunburnt, lips split. Still, she kept pace beside him, a pistol in one hand, his coat over her shoulders. They reached a crag where the shade held, and he finally said, "We rest." She sank down against the rock without a word. He passed her the canteen. She drank, slow this time, then wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. You tracked them across Dustbone? She asked. He nodded once, unslinging his rifle. Why? Cole sat beside her. The silence stretched, taut as a wire. You once dragged me out of a pit of bullets and regret, he muttered. Figured it was time I returned the favor. She stared at him, eyes dark and unreadable. I didn't do it for a favor. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out the ledger, the same one he'd taken from the dead man's saddlebag days ago. The pages were worn now, dog-eared and blood-smeared. He flipped to the back and showed her the names. Dozens of them. Towns listed, buyers, prices. Kaya stared at the page without blinking. They kept records. They were proud of it. Her fingers curled tight around the pistol in her lap. These men don't fear justice. They only fear losing money. Then, we take both, he said. She looked up. You mean to burn it all? No, he replied. I mean to bury it, deep, with bodies on top. They camped in silence that night. The fire was small, shielded by stone. Kaya didn't sleep. Neither did he. She watched the stars, arms folded around her knees. He leaned back against a rock, cleaning his revolver, eyes never straying far from her. Just before dawn, she whispered, They sold my cousin 3 winters ago. Said she ran off with a trapper. But I found her beadwork in a soldier's pack, stitched into his saddle. Cole said nothing, just nodded once. Kaya turned her head toward him. I want names. He passed her the ledger. The next town on the list was Dryfield, 2 days west. According to the notes, a buyer named Granger operated out of the sheriff's office under the guise of order. Cole had seen his type before. Uniform polished, gun clean, soul rotted. They rode into Dryfield near dusk, cloaks pulled tight, dust covering the details of their faces. The sheriff's office stood in the center square, big and wide like a courthouse but too quiet. One deputy leaned against the rail outside, chewing tobacco with the kind of face that had forgotten what decency looked like. Kaya slipped into a saloon across the street while Cole tied off the horses. Inside, she found a poker game near the park corner. She ordered water, listened, waited. It didn't take long. Granger's got another girl waiting in the cells, one man muttered, voice thick with whiskey. Fresh from the southern ridge, says she's Apache but pretty. Another chuckled. He'll get a buyer by morning, always does. Kaya walked out before they noticed her watching. Cole met her halfway across the street. You heard? She nodded. There's a girl in his jail. He adjusted his hat. Then we don't wait. That night, they came through the back, under moonlight. Cole picked the lock with a piece of wire, silent as breath. Inside, the cells were cold. The girl, barely 15, looked up as they approached. Her eyes went wide when she saw Kaya. You're Thunder Rock, the girl whispered. Kaya nodded. So are you. Cole moved ahead, found Granger's office. The man was asleep at his desk, pistol loose beside his hand. Cole didn't waste time. He slammed the butt of his rifle into the man's jaw. The crack echoed. When Granger woke, he was hogtied and bleeding from the mouth. Kaya stood over him. "You remember me?" she asked. He squinted through the blood. "We ain't broken the law, just collecting what's owed." "You branded a girl like cattle," she said coldly. "I remember your knife," he coughed. "I was just doing business." "You are the business," Cole muttered. Granger's eyes widened. "You'll hang for this. Marshall's riding tomorrow. He's on my side." Kaya looked to Cole. Let them ride. By dawn, the jail was empty. The girl was free. Granger's body hung from the same beam he used for executions, a sign nailed to his chest. Ledger paid. The next name was Harrow Pike, a preacher in Veldren Flats. Well-respected, wealthy, dangerous. Kaya insisted she go in alone. Cole waited outside the chapel, seated on a bench, hands folded like a man waiting for confession. Inside, her voice could be heard, low, calm, tight with rage. "You baptized children while selling their mothers," the preacher stammered. "Denial." Then the crack of bone on wood, a scream. When she returned, her knuckles were raw. A blood stain marked her sleeve. He kept their earrings in a drawer. Trophies. Cole didn't ask if he was dead. The answer didn't matter. They rode east after that, tracking down the names one by one. Cole handled the silent ones, the men who didn't beg, the men who tried to draw. Kaya took care of the liars, the ones who hid behind uniforms or sermons or clean hands. Every town whispered louder than the last. The ghost riders, the Apache with the black coat, the rancher who didn't speak until it was too late. Survivors began to surface. Women once thought lost returned to their people, broken but breathing. And in the dust markets of Braven Hollow, one buyer, recognizing Kaya from a distance, drew first. He never got the second shot. Cole buried him under the ledger page that bore his name. Kaya said nothing, just burned the rest of the body. At a small outpost called Cutter's Drop, they found a woman who kept a coded log. A former scribe turned madam. She saw them coming, held her hands up. "I never touched the girls," she said. "I just wrote what I was told." Kaya stepped forward, eyes unreadable. "Then write this down." The woman hesitated. "Write their names," Kaya said. "All of them. The ones taken, the ones sold, the ones dead." By morning, the madam handed over a thick journal, 37 names. Kaya flipped through it. Tears didn't come. Only a kind of stillness that meant she was colder than she'd ever been. The last page held 2 names circled in ink: Mallister and Trent. Cole traced the names with a gloved finger. "They're not hiding anymore," he said. Kaya nodded. "Then, neither are we." Cole folded the page, loaded the rifle. "We ride at dusk." Smoke rose like a warning behind them. It trailed upward in slow spirals as Kaya and Cole rode through scorched grass and bitter wind. Her braid hung loose, caught in the gusts. His coat flapped against the saddle, dust layering both their shoulders, like a second skin. Neither spoke. They'd passed 3 towns in the last week. None dared stop them. The 4th one tried. They rode in just before sundown, a place called Tallow Creek, too clean for its own good. The kind of town where men smiled too wide and women never looked up. Cole tied off the horse while Kaya stepped into the general store. It smelled like wax and lies. The man behind the counter froze when he saw her. His eyes darted to the ledger on the shelf, green-bound, plain. A woman's earring sat beside it. Kaya didn't raise her voice. "You sold children," the man stammered, stepped back. I only arranged delivery. I never touched." She shot the shelf behind his head. Wood splintered. The ledger fell. Cole entered before the second shot. They left the town silent. By the next morning, the road was theirs again. Kaya walked now and then to stretch her legs, pistol holstered but always near. Cole scanned the horizon. The clouds hung low, heavy with something that felt too much like a storm. They'll come together, he said quietly. Trent, Mallister, the rest. All at once. Kaya nodded. Let them. They reached a plateau by noon, and below it the fort sat like a scar across the land. Tall walls, sharpened stakes, flags that had long since lost their meaning. Cole studied it through the scope of a stolen rifle. Too many to count, he muttered. Kaya didn't blink. Then we stopped counting. They waited until nightfall, then slipped through the outer brush, crawling past forgotten graves and split fence posts. Near the north wall, they found what they didn't expect. A girl, no more than 12, carrying water under guard. Kaya moved fast. A whisper. A knife. The guard dropped before he could shout. The girl stared wide-eyed at the blood. Kaya knelt. Do you know where they keep the others? She nodded, silent. Can you take us? She hesitated, then nodded again. They followed her past the barracks, around the side of a chapel built from stone and rot. Inside the cellar, they found them, 9 women, some old, some barely breathing, one blind. Kaya stood at the doorway, her voice low, steady. You're not cattle. You're not ghosts. We ride together or we die quiet. Your choice. One woman stood, then 2, then all. By morning, the gates of the fort were open. Trent arrived as smoke rose behind the chapel. His horse reared at the scent of fire and fear. He saw the gate swinging and the watchman dead. He dismounted, stalking through the yard with a grin shaped like violence. Mason, he roared. I thought you were a ghost. Cole stepped from the shadows, rifle raised. Trent laughed. You brought her too? Thought you might. She's got bite. Bet she screams real pretty. Kaya fired first. The bullet grazed Trent's ear, took part of his cheek. He staggered, cursed, drew his blade. You want blood? He growled. Then, come take it. Cole didn't wait. He tackled Trent to the dirt, rifle clattering. Fists flew. Blood sprayed. Trent clawed for his belt knife. Cole slammed his boot into the man's wrist. Behind them, chaos erupted. Freed women lit torches. Guards stumbled from their bunks only to fall to steel or fire. Kaya ran for the barn. A buyer tried to mount his horse. She shot the saddle out from under him. He fell hard, scrambled. She put a bullet through his leg. You bought what wasn't yours, she said. He whimpered. I was told they were volunteers. She didn't answer. He screamed once, then no more. Inside the yard, Cole drove Trent into the post. The man spat blood, laughed. You're nothing, Mason. Always were. A traitor, a mongrel. Cole picked up his rifle, slammed it against Trent's ribs. No, I'm what happens when ghosts come back hungry. Trent swung once more. Blade nicked Cole's arm. Cole shot him through the heart. The fort blazed behind them. By morning it would be nothing but smoke and bones. They gathered the survivors outside the ruins, 17 in total, bruised, burned, but free. One of them, a gray-haired woman with eyes sharp as glass, stood before Kaya. You're Thunder Rock. Kaya nodded once. The woman turned to the others. Then we ride behind her now. They moved west, toward higher ground, toward the edge of any map. They rode past fields where blood had fed the roots, past towns that closed shutters when they approached, past creeks that still remembered screams in their currents. Cole didn't speak much, but he kept the ledger tucked close. Each night, Kaya would sit by the fire, flipping its pages, not for the names, for the ones they hadn't yet found. Word spread faster than wind. Settlers whispered of a storm with Apache eyes and a rancher's rifle. Traders rerouted. Buyers vanished. Some took their own lives when they heard the fort had fallen, and yet one name still circled their minds like buzzards over a carcass. Mallister. They found his trail near the Red Cliffs, a caravan guarded by 10 riders, wagons full, chains hanging, from hooks. Cole watched from above. He's moving fast. Kaya loaded her rifle. Not fast enough. They struck at dawn. Hooves thundered. Shots rang. Blood hit sand before the echoes stopped. Mallister ran, took a single horse and vanished through the pines. Kaya chased him. Cole stayed behind, tying the hands of the last rider who begged for mercy. "You knew," he said. The man cried. "It was just business." Cole tightened the knot. "Business is closed." Kaya returned near dusk. Her face was calm. No blood on her, but her hands shook. "He didn't run far," she said. Cole didn't ask more. They buried the chains beneath a cottonwood, beside the burned ledger. Kaya carved one word into the bark above it. Paid. 2 days later, a boy rode into camp, dust on his face, panic in his eyes. "They're regrouping," he said. "New flags, new names, but the same men." Kaya stared at the fire. Cole reached for his coat. "We ride," he said. She nodded. "No more warnings," she added. And somewhere between the firelight and the stars, the wind carried a different scent now. Not smoke, not blood, but the weight of justice still unfinished.